What's up, Penn Staters? Thanks for tuning in to the Football Letter podcast. I am fired up. This week, we are talking about the Pennsylvania State University Marching Blue Band, and we're going to welcome in Micki Ferguson. Micki is a two-time Penn State graduate. She is the Associate Director of Athletic Bands for the Blue Band. She's also a faculty member in the School of Music here at Penn State. We see Micki year-round at Beaver Stadium, all over campus, on the road. This is going to be a real treat. If you love the Blue Band, and I have a feeling you do, this is the show for you. Micki Ferguson, welcome to the Football Letter podcast. We are so thrilled that you're making time for us today. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, John. I'm excited too.
Absolutely. So as I said in the intro, Micki, you're a two-time Penn State grad. We like to start at the opening with our guest. How did you become a Penn State Nittany Lion?
Well, I did my undergrad here. I graduated in 2007 with a degree in music education. And I came to Penn State. This will be really hard for everybody to believe, but I came to Penn State to be in the Blue Band. So I wanted to be a Blue Bander for as long as I can remember. So my undergrad was in 2007. And then I had the opportunity back in 2017. I got a call from our director of athletic bands, Greg Drain, and said, I have a graduate assistantship open. Do you want to come back and do your PhD? And that was that. Here I am.
How much did that opportunity mean to you to be able to continue your career in a meaningful way at your alma mater?
Oh, I mean, it meant the world. I'll be honest. I was teaching high school band in outside of Reading, Pennsylvania, and I thought I would retire from there. I love marching band. I love doing that. And when that call came, it was out of thin air. Greg and I have been friends for a long time and also colleagues. And it was the absolute right moment in time. And I was ready for a change and to come back to my alma mater and work with the Blue Band. I mean, I'm not trying to be egotistical, but we're one of the premier college marching bands in the country. To have that opportunity to come back, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Greg Drain, the leader of the Blue Band, a big fan of Dr. Drain. I actually volunteered with the Blue Band in 2015. Greg was nice enough to kind of bring me on. And I don't know if we've ever talked about that, Micki, but for that season, I was sort of, I don't know, kind of embedded. And so I learned all about the Twizzlers tradition and all the other things and how the Blue Band students, they put in the work. And so I just, they put in so much work. And maybe that's kind of a good place to segue. Let's just start with the game day experience at Beaver Stadium. What does game day look like from the Blue Band's perspective in terms of, when you get to the building and what that day is like for you and the band?
Sure. I think that's one of the things that those of us like you that work game days, we know that it doesn't just start an hour before kick. Blue Band students are here a minimum of 5 hours before kickoff. But really, other than a noon kickoff, we're pretty much here 6 to 7 hours prior. Students will come in. They have a rehearsal, an hour and a half to 2 hours. We rehearse. We obviously warm up, stretching, working on pregame and halftime music and marching fundamentals. So that'll happen. And then that's just the start of our game day for our students and our staff. We then come in and we eat our game day hoagie. You talked about some of those game day traditions. You talk to any Blue Bander or Blue Band alum, they'll talk about the game day hoagie, which sometimes is at 8 o'clock in the morning and sometimes is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on the kick. And from there, we have a lot of things that happen on game day that I think some people see parts of, but the whole operation logistically itself it's a lot. I mean, our students and our staff, we have it down to a science, but it's always evolving. We have lots of moving pieces. So our students will come in and then some students will volunteer to go and do a few pep band gigs. We always have a pep band that goes to President Bendaputi's tailgate. So they'll go off on a bus and that's an extra hour of their time that some students will have some rest time and these other students will be working. We'll send another pep band over to Team Arrival outside the stadium that a lot of you go to. And it's just a really, really great event when the team comes off the bus, the Blue Band, cheer, dance, all of that. All of that is coordinated by the marketing staff. So we have a group that goes there. And then once we all come back together, we'll parade to the stadium. Typically an hour and 15 minutes before kickoff, we leave the building. We're in the stadium by an hour before kick. And then everything you see in the stadium starts. So it's a pretty big undertaking prior to even getting into the stadium. And then you see all the great stuff that happens within the stadium too. So it's a great day. It's a long day. We're all pretty exhausted by the end. So, but you don't want to be anywhere else.
No, no doubt. And how about for game week? Because I know you have the traditional fight songs pregame, but halftime ceremonies, there's a theme, a different medley each week. How does game week look like from your perspective in terms of, when do you start preparing for halftime, and how are you, kind of balancing your responsibilities as game day gets closer?
Yeah, it is absolutely a balancing act. We start planning our halftime shows in the spring semester, and then into the summer. A lot of times we try to align them with what the theme of the game is. Obviously, homecoming, whiteout, military appreciation. So that goes into a lot of our planning. So a lot of that happens in May and June, and then planning throughout the summer. But as far as a game week itself, it all depends if it's a 1 week prep, or if it's a multiple week prep. We are in this really weird state right now that we have like 4 weeks to prep for Ohio State, which brings its own challenges. Obviously, we're trying to look at our students' well-being, mental health, physical health, giving them some time off because it is a grueling season, but also staying fresh. So on a typical 1 week prep, which is most of the time, we'll start a new halftime show on Monday. We'll start learning music and our drill, which is the marching. We'll start learning that on Monday and Tuesday, and then Tuesday we'll start reviewing some pregame as well. Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday our Blue Band students have off, and then Friday, we're just doing full runs and cleaning and checking. So it's a routine, it's a science, but it also evolves from week to week depending on what we need to do.
So we often ask Letterman, what does it feel like to run out of the tunnel on game day at Beaver Stadium? Every time that there's the band comes out and I see you walking along the west sideline, when you're seeing, kind of what's happening, the pregame show kickoff is 20 minutes away. What are your emotions? What are, kind of like, how hyped are you? What is that moment like for you? Not just as a member, helping to lead the Blue Band, but you're also a Penn State alumna.
Yeah. It's the tunnel. It's one of those things that I think everybody sees, but unless you actually physically come out of that tunnel, whether you're a Letterman, whether you're part of the band, cheer, dance, or part of the team, it's a unique experience. You'll talk to our alums, and me being a student and marching out of that tunnel for the first time and the last time are some of the most memorable parts of being in the Blue Band. There is no feeling like it when you're a band member back there. We are tight. It is loud. Everybody's emotions are flowing. There's, yelling and cheering and chanting. And actually, when you come out as a Blue Band member, it's just a roar of sound. The Lettermen are correct. It's just a unique experience. And depending on the game, I can tell you one of my best memories as an undergraduate is coming out of the tunnel 2005 Ohio State game. There's nothing like coming out at the whiteout, nothing like coming out at a night game. But it's something our students remember forever.
Absolutely. And the crowd is usually packed 20 minutes before kickoff. And so when the band comes out, I mean, you guys get just as big of an ovation as the team. And rightly so. Let me ask you this question, because we've talked with, folks who played in the Blue Band as students, and we of course have the Alumni Blue Band Association. Beyond the camaraderie of the band, what is it about the Blue Band that when somebody participates in the band, it turns into something that almost changes their life, transforms their life? It stays with them. What do you think it is about the Blue Band that makes that experience so special?
Well, I mean, we talk now in our era about Blue Band family. It's just one of these things that has evolved, but what it has really evolved is from, and one of our values from Blue Band, one of our 3 core values is building on the legacy. And I think one of the things our students currently really understand is that the importance of the folks that have come before them, and building upon the generations of work that has come before us. So that Blue Band family is obviously the friends that they make here. Greg Drain always talks about look to your left, look to your right. One of these people are going to be your best friend for life. And it's so very true. It's such a unique experience. We go through a lot of physical, a lot of mental, a lot of trials just to put this type of show on to be part of this organization. But what that does, I think it really does bond our students. But with that, we have a lot of camaraderie. We have a lot of caring. We have students that truly care for each other. And that's obviously, I'm talking right now within the band, but what that really projects to is generations of students, now alums, that had that same unique experience, lived through the rain games, the snow games, the travel, the West Virginia rain delay in the 90-degree weather, the Rose Bowl, all of those things that, we've had these trials and tribulations, we've had these amazing game experiences. And why it might be different now in the Blue Band, there are still things that this legacy has built upon that generations, the early 2000s, like me, mid to late 2000s, like me and you, then the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, that they've all had similar experiences in different generations. And I think that is really what's at the heart of it. So like you mentioned, the Alumni Blue Band Association, we come back for homecoming. Lots have changed. Technology, we use everything is on our phones. Our music, our drill is on our phones now. But when the alums come back, it's still the same fight songs. It's still similar drill. It's still learning the same way. It's still the similar commands, and those traditions that I think really connect all of us. Just like any type of organization at Penn State. I mean, the Alumni Association, you all know about this. But I think in Blue Band in particular, there's not many people that get to do it through their Penn State career, and it does bond us across generations.
Yeah, and you touched on it a little bit, Micki. I was going to ask you about all the behind the scenes work that goes in, waking up at 6 a.m. and how much that goes into creating those bonds and that camaraderie. When you see how much work goes on behind the scenes, how much do you think that plays into kind of what you were just talking about in terms of, football players talk about going through winter workouts and waking up at 4 and 5 a.m. I imagine, there are some similarities there for the band, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, comparing, football or any sport, and marching band's the same. What the public sees is only such a sliver, a small percentage of the time and the effort it goes that these students in the Blue Band on an athletic team that they put in year round to be able to perform at that level. Same thing with the Blue Band. When these students come to us as first years, they have years and years and years of support and lessons and high school and middle school band and parents and guardians that have helped get them there. And how many hours they put in over the summer throughout the year. It's not something that we just show up and do, we do pregame, it just comes back. And same with any athlete. So I think that's one of the things that I think people understand, but maybe don't get the full grasp of it until they're in the thick of it.
So you are in the thick of it. And let me ask you this, because I think maybe it goes into how you teach, how you're an educator, how you're help lead the band. What is your kind of coaching style, your teaching style in terms of, making those personal connections, because you can speak from a position of authority of, hey, I know what it's like to, put all this work in, and how much do you kind of rely on your experience, and how does that influence the way that you teach?
Well, like you said, my background as a teacher, I was a public school teacher for 10 years. So that's where my foundation is. But I really think what we say, and sorry, I keep referencing my boss, but he is the director. But one of the things that Greg always says to the staff and the students is that the Blue Band is its entity. The Blue Band will be here. It will always be part of Penn State. We are just borrowing time with it at this point. I never thought, after my 4 years of marching, I never thought I'd be back working with the Blue Band. So this is bonus laps. We talk about them with our 5th year seniors too. We talk about, this is your victory lap, a lap you may not have thought you'd have, with going out of the tunnel another 7 times. So I feel like for me and my teaching, obviously it's rooted in a lot of years of practice and pedagogy in music education, but philosophically, I think I remind myself when I'm in the thick of it, when I'm tired, when I'm exhausted, that this entity is bigger than any single one of us, and it will go on long after us. Let's just take care of it while we have it, try to make it a tiny bit better than we found it. And we talk about building on the legacy. And I think that's where our staff is. We're trying to build on the legacy from those who set the groundwork before us.
After a 20-year hiatus, Penn State and the Fiesta Bowl renewed their mutual love affair when the Nittany Lions extended their record to 7-0 in the Arizona desert by beating the Washington Huskies. Against Washington on the penultimate afternoon of 2017, the Nittany Lions never trailed the team that had edged them out for the 4th spot in the college football playoff in 2016, the previous year. Penn State amassed a bowl record 545 yards of total offense, rolling to its second straight 11-win season, its 29th bowl victory, and its second postseason decision over the Huskies. The Huskies' defense that year ranked number 1 in the nation against the run and 5th in total defense, and had allowed only 1 rush of 40 yards and 1 pass 35 yards in the season. In the first 21 minutes of action, Deshaun Hamilton grabbed a 48-yard touchdown pass, and Saquon Barkley uncorked a 92-yard gallop to the end zone to spark the Lions to a 28-14 halftime lead. Super Saquon dazzled the witnesses at his last game in a Penn State uniform in typical fashion by setting a school and Fiesta Bowl record with his 92-yard touchdown trot that exceeded Chafee Field's previous Fiesta Bowl high of 85 yards on a reverse against Texas in State's last appearance in Arizona in 1996. Barkley equaled in 1 run the number of yards allowed per game by Washington's number 1 ranked rush defense. In his stellar season finale, quarterback Trace McSorley mystified the Washington defense by mixing in 12 runs for 60 crucial yards while completing a phenomenal 78% of his 41 pass attempts for 342 yards, 10 third down conversions, and 2 touchdowns. Coach James Franklin said in his post-game meeting with the media, "I can't imagine there's a better quarterback in the country in terms of decision-making, leadership, and toughness." The junior's performance earned him the Most Valuable Offensive Player award in the Fiesta Bowl, just as his play in the Big Ten championship game did the previous year. The young man, whose teammates call him a clutch player, distributed his tosses to 9 different receivers, including Deshaun Hamilton. The senior hauled in touchdown throws of 48 and 24 yards that were the alpha and omega of Penn State's scoring. Tight end Mike Gesicki caught 6 passes for 62 yards to finish his 4-year career with a Penn State record for tight ends of 129 receptions. Barkley actually led all Lion receivers in the Fiesta Bowl with 7 catches against Washington, just enough to tie Juwan Johnson as the Lions' leader for all of 2017 with 54 receptions. Saquon's 38 receiving yards in the bowl game added to his game-high 137 rushing yards on just 18 carries to give him a game-high 175 all-purpose yards. That raised his season total to 2,329, second only to Larry Johnson's 2,655 in 2002 in the Penn State's record books. The once-in-a-generation player stands second on State's all-time rushing chart with 3,843 yards and a career total of 43 touchdowns, all accomplished in just 3 years. He is the first Penn Stater to win the Paul Hornung Award as the most versatile player in college football. and was also a finalist for the Maxwell, Doak Walker, and Walter Camp Player of the Year awards. He became just the second player in history to win 3 Big Ten Conference major awards: Offensive Player of the Year, Running Back of the Year, and Return Specialist of the Year. Senior safety Marcus Allen led the Lions with 7 tackles, 6 of them solos, and received the defensive MVP trophy. Overall, State's defense had 8 tackles for 33 yards and losses against the Huskies and held them to just 104 yards rushing and 227 passing. McSorley, who compiled 402 yards passing and running for a Penn State Bowl record, became the first Penn Stater in history to surpass 400 yards of total offense twice in his career, and broke his own record for total offense in a season with 4,061 yards. Senior wide receiver Hamilton posted his 8th career 100-yard receiving game and passed Deion Butler on State's career receiving yardage chart with 2,842 yards to move into second place behind Bobby Ingram. In addition to Barkley's consensus first-team All-American honor and numerous other awards, tight end Jasicki garnered second-team All-American honors, safety Marcus Allen, linebacker Jason Cabinda, and quarterback McSorley received honorable All-American mentions.
You are tuned into the Football Letter Podcast. We are speaking with Dr. Micki Potlunas Ferguson, the Associate Director of Athletic Bands for the Blue Band. Micki, 2-time Penn State graduate. She played in the Blue Band as a student. And we've talked a little bit about kind of, when you come out of the stadium, when you're at team arrival, the interaction with the alumni, the fans. How important is that in terms of, when you're leading the band, when the student musicians are playing, that they're seeing how much the alumni are into it, how much the fans are into it, that kind of connection that the band has with our alumni audience and our fans and our friends. How do you describe that connection there?
Oh, it's invaluable. I mean, especially team arrival has a different vibe than even just parading to the stadium. Team arrival is hype. Like, you've got cheer, you've got dance, the team's coming in, coaches there, there's a lot going on there. And our students are excited to be there, to be in the thick of that environment. And on the other side, when we bring the full band, when we parade to the stadium, it's physically exhausting. But I think having that alumni connection literally every week, 3-4 people deep, as we get closer and closer to the stadium, we see alums, obviously parents, guardians, friends of our students. But when when we get there and you see them waving and cheering and screaming and singing along with the fight songs, it's an energy boost. It's a huge energy boost. We have a lot of internal motivation. Our students do. They wouldn't be in the Blue Band if they didn't. But that extra boost when they're keeping an eye out for, a friend on the sideline or an alum that just graduated that's, cheering for the section they just came out of, like cheering for the Silks, cheering for the Bones, things like that. It's a whole different experience, and it does invigorate us, getting us, into that atmosphere and into that environment.
Yeah, if you're tuned into if you're watching us on YouTube, you're seeing the bands march to the stadium. It's about an hour before kickoff, I believe. This is from a game earlier in the season in the afternoon. We're talking with Micki here. We're about halfway through the regular season. We just got back from LA a week or two ago. The pep band was out there playing at our Friday night event in LA Live. One of the photos that you saw after the pep band performed at Tom's Watch Bar, they walked outside of the venue and they kept playing. And our all-star photographer, Steve Manuel, got a few photos. And there were folks just like hanging out in LA Live, and the pep band comes out and they're playing, the fight songs. And that was fun. The traveling on the road, as across the Big Ten, across the country, you mentioned the Rose Bowl where the band has gone before. The opportunity to connect with Penn Staters beyond, University Park. How important is that to the Blue Band experience when, a student can go beyond University Park to the other side of the country and they see the Penn State support and how much the Blue Band is beloved? How big of a role does that play in the Blue Band experience, do you think?
Oh, I think it's Massive. And I think it's one of the things, obviously, a lot of our students, especially first, second years, they're just trying to get used to college life. They're part of this great organization. They understand it, they respect it. But I think once they get closer and closer to graduation and maybe having to go out in the real world, I think obviously going on pep band trips that the Alumni Association sponsors, having that interaction, like the Friday night mixer, the Saturday pep rally, people coming up from all over the country, like you said, and saying, hey, I'm a Penn Stater. This is the first game I've been to in 20 years. I'm sure that you saw a lot of that out in LA. Like maybe they went to the Rose Bowl a couple years ago, but same deal, but they haven't been to a game. And having that experience, and the majority of our Blue Band students are in majors that are not music or music education. So being able to see alums that are unbelievably successful in the business world, in the medical field, an XYZ field, and seeing them at these events, being able to network, even if it's quick, but they say, hey, here's my card, give me a call if you're, a quick conversation. That networking is huge for our students because they don't major in Blue Band. This is an experience, but that connection with the Alumni Association, wherever they end up in this country or the world, that's huge. And I think they see it more as they travel, as they get older, and as they are getting closer and closer to having to leave. So that's just a unique experience that so many students on our campus don't get to have that our Blue Banders do.
Micki, you said something interesting that I wanted to follow up on. So you talked about, Blue Band students don't major in Blue Band. They come from all types of different backgrounds. How much of the Blue Band is an opportunity for students to, find themselves, make new friends? Because it's not like you're majoring in one academic area and that everybody has that connection. People are coming from all kinds of different backgrounds. Is that something you see develop where, you have students from so many different backgrounds connecting to form the band?
Oh, that's one of our core philosophies here, is really that core of what we do with leadership training, and giving students that ability to, as you said, one of the things is that we have students from all varieties of background. And one of the things that we really find in the extra musical sense is that we do need to, create this inclusive, safe environment for students coming from a lot of different places. So with that, we do a lot of education, a lot of training with other entities on campus nothing is musical in that respect. We do, this past summer, did a bunch of leadership training, disc training with our leaders, doing work with the gender equity office, doing work with anti-bullying, anti-hazing, and things that are super extra musical, but these are things that will help them as they go on and be leaders in this world and in different fields. That's one of the main philosophies we have, is that yes, we want them to be phenomenal musicians and performers, but more importantly, we want them to be phenomenal people and successful professionals when they leave this Research One institution. Part of it is the culture that we create and having that, like we said, building on the legacy. But the other part is that it's very intentional in what we do, creating these students to go out in the world to be responsible, respectful people. So it's not just the music. I would say 85% of our students will go on, maybe 90, will go on to something that is not music in their careers, but having the leadership experience, having the networking, and obviously having some type of community when you're in such a big university is so important for them as they grow as human beings. And we love when they go off to wherever, med school, Wall Street, law school, teaching, everything under the sun, but they come back and say, hey, I really appreciate that we worked on this leadership skill or this peer-to-peer interaction skill or this level of inclusion. I use it now in my workplace, or, it really opened my eyes to XYZ. So, it's one of those things that, yes, the performance is what the majority of the public sees, but more importantly, we value producing skills that students can go out and be good members and human beings of the society.
Exactly. You're an educator at Penn State. I mean, that goes right along with the mission of the university and educators here. You are tuned into the Football Letter podcast. We are speaking with Dr. Micki Ferguson. She is explaining the Blue Band and how there's so much more going on than what folks may see on the surface. You talked about leadership training and kind of the other things that are available to the students. Let's talk a little bit about, the athletic bands. I know that there's a pep band that plays at volleyball, at basketball. How important is it to provide those opportunities for students year round? And I also know that, there are also non-athletic events that the band may play at throughout the year. How important are those year round opportunities for those students beyond football?
Oh, I mean, I think what a lot of people don't know is that we do have our Blue Band, and Blue Band primarily serves football, and then major athletic events and major community events on campus. But we also have a separate organization ensemble that we have within our Blue Band building within our athletic bands is our athletic pep bands, our Pride of the Lions pep band. And in the fall, that is made up primarily of students who are not in Blue Band. We have 110 students this fall. And these are students that are from all over the campus, undergraduates and grad students. Some of them, have been it for 4 or 5 years. And they are students, like I said, all over, and they serve all the other events that you see. Like you alluded to, women's volleyball, men's and women's basketball. This year we have been at other events, including men's and women's soccer. We'll have more events as the winter comes up. We also serve men's and women's hockey. So I think a lot of the general public, one thing, they say they see the band and it is associated with the Blue Band, but the students that are forming and serving those other athletic events are from a completely different ensemble, our Pride of the Lions pep band. And those students do a ton of work. They also rehearse once per week, but then throughout the fall semester, we do split between 2 bands of that group. And those students can go anywhere from, in addition to weekly rehearsals, serving anywhere from 12 to 15 additional events. Within the football season, and then in the spring, similar. So we're serving around 30 to 35 events additionally from football each semester. And so it's a whole different group of students. But what that does, it also opens it up to a whole different population of Penn State who may not have the time within their major, or they may need to work, or they may be a grad student with responsibilities there, that still want to continue to play their instrument, to be part of a community, to support Penn State athletics, and to have friends in this group that have another opportunity to play in different environments. And it's, while the staff that serves those students is all overlaps, those students are a whole different, that's 110 additional students that have the opportunity to be part of something bigger than themselves. So we're really, really fortunate with that. And you alluded to the beginning of the show, you see me and all the other, our GAs, our other directors everywhere. So we're serving all of that athletics as a whole. And it's really interesting to meet new people and, connect with them across the campus too.
So Micki, I was going to shift gears, but before we do that, I just want to, you speak with so much joy about what you do with the Blue Band and Penn State. Where does that joy come from?
I'm a Penn Stater through and through. I came to camp here in middle school. I think I came to a women's basketball camp when I was in middle school, and I stayed in the old East Halls. And I don't think I ever thought I'd go anywhere else. I didn't know what else I didn't know I was going to do music or whatever, but I think it stems to that, that I believe in what we do. I believe in our students. I believe in the philosophy that we have. Penn State's a special place. And obviously everyone feels that way about their own institution. But I'm talking to literally you and the Alumni Association, and you all get it. Sometimes it's hard to put into words, but when, it's a job, it's a career, there are tough times, but I think at the end of it, I have a really great gig that a lot of folks never get the chance to have. And, I continue to remind myself to be grateful. I work with amazing students. It's going to sound biased, but, we always talk about band students being some of the best students on campus. And that's not to exclude that there are amazing students on this campus, but we get some of the best students on campus. We get that, and we work with high functioning, very intelligent folks between, working with athletics. Those are all people working for the same goal. Alumni association, all working with the same goal, same philosophy. Working with other faculty members. Like I said, I also served the School of Music as a faculty member in my appointment, working, towards that common goal. I mean, we talked about you can't major in blue band. When we say that, I feel a little hypocritical because I kind of did. It just worked out that way. But, you're not going to have a career in marching band, but I kind of do. So, I'm very, very fortunate.
My face is lit up. I'm just smiling, Micki. That was so well said. And let's stick with your days as a student. What was your favorite class that you had as a student?
Well, obviously blue band, but if I had to pick other classes, my top 2 favorite classes other than blue band was Larch 60. It was the history of landscape architecture. Loved it. And I know this is a sore spot for some current students, but ballroom. Ballroom, those alums that know, I had to wait. It was my last semester on campus to have enough credits to get in at midnight to be able to get into a ballroom section. So those were my next 2 favorite classes after blue band.
What was it about landscape architecture that resonated with you?
I had no idea anything about it. And I just loved, talking about, I love to travel. So I loved learning about how cities were all planned and developed. And then there was a whole unit, and I'm sure it's probably similar now. Obviously, it's 20 plus years ago, but we had the whole unit on how the Penn State campus was planned. And that was before all the construction. So I'm sure it's like even more in depth now. And this is going to sound terrible, but it was non-musical. And as a musician and a music major, we get wrapped up in our bubbles. And I think it was a really great release for me. So yeah, I loved Larch 60. It was one of my favorites.
So Saturday night, State College, you and your family, you and your friends, you can get into any place, prime table, don't have to wait. What spot are you hitting up?
Well, here's some places I like downtown. I don't go downtown on Saturday nights now because I'm too tired from game day. When I was a student, no problem. Had lots of energy. Places I like to eat downtown in the summer and when it's like during the week when it's not a game week. I love Indian Pavilion. Down like I think it's on Calder Way there. Carter's Table. If you've never been there, it's amazing tacos and quesadillas. I'm trying to be professional, but we all know I'm going to say the cafe. So, I would go, for a nice Diet Coke. But yeah, cafe is quintessential. What I love at the cafe during homecoming parade is our alumni blue band goes earlier in the parade and we're always at the end and they are literally against the fence in the cafe screaming for us. Like some of them still have their trumpets and they're trying playing. And it's just, it's like a quintessential blue band alum spot. But those are my downtown spots, keeping it professional and PG.
No, those are good. And cafe is when we have volunteers come back, that is their go-to spot. So yeah, they like the cafe. And you mentioned the alumni blue band, and we touched on that earlier in the conversation, but maybe let's just come back to that for another question. To have an alumni blue band association that is so active, how much does that kind of just put a smile on your face and you're happy to see that this is something that, in your words, we're continuing the legacy. Maybe a good question to ask is how important is the Alumni Blue Band Association in keeping that legacy active?
Oh, they are the legacy. It's, the Alumni Blue Band Association, a lot of folks are like, oh, they see them at homecoming on the field and homecoming parade. But the Alumni Blue Band Association is active throughout the entire year. They do a great I mean, number one, they're our biggest fans and ambassadors, but also, I mean, doing support, doing fundraising. They do our annual golf tournament. They, doing pep band gigs throughout the year. So I mean, it's a win-win. Like when we have them, obviously they're supporting us, alum wise, philosophically, legacy wise, financially. But also they get to, relive their times with their generations and continuing that legacy. They get to play their instruments again. They get to see their friends. They get to socialize, doing a pep band here and there for different athletic events. Sometimes when we're on break, or sometimes, like there are gigs off campus that our students, we just don't have the ability to send our students. They're in class. They're physically already pretty run down from football season. Our alums are willing to jump in and play these gigs and have the same sense of Penn State pride. And I think it's so important for our current students to see that we talk about, they get 4, maybe 5 years of coming out that tunnel, but with the Alumni Blue Band Association, they get to still experience it just in a different way. They still get to get on the field once a year. They still get to have that connection with other Penn Staters and other Blue Banders, once again, and they share those stories between intergenerationally. Oh, I did this in the 90s. Oh, I did this in the 2000s. And oh, you're still doing that? Hey, I know who started that. I was here when they started that chant or that cheer or that tag ending on that song. So, I think it's key to keeping that value of building on the legacy.
Yeah, it was great to see the Alumni Blue Band play at homecoming this year for Illinois in the south end zone, or excuse me, the north end zone. They are playing throughout the game, and I would feel bad if I didn't mention Dr. Dick Bundy. He still plays in the Alumni Blue Band, and he was the director when you were here. And I mean, we could spend a lot of time talking about kind of him and his impact. But let me ask you, I mean, what was it like working with, Dr. Dick Bundy, the kind of the leadership that you saw from him? What comes to mind when you think about, Dr. Dick Bundy?
Oh, I mean, Dr. Bundy is just the humblest human being. Obviously, the ultimate Penn Stater, coming up through his career. He, like I said, and like you mentioned, he was the director when I was here. He is the reason. He is one of my absolute most favorite people, someone I considered a mentor, going through undergraduate and through all of that. Oh my God. I mean, sorry, I'm not speaking really eloquently, but I just love Dr. Bundy. I adore him. He is, still supports the Blue Band. Like you said, he's still an alumni band. Like, every year we're like, do you want to conduct? Like, I feel like they're like, do you want to conduct Dr. Bundy? Or do you want to, no, I just want to play. He's super humble. He's caring. He is the reason we are in the place we are. I was here, when I was an undergrad, my first year, we did not have the Blue Band building. That was his baby, his project. Literally, his name is on the building, and deservedly so. But he did all that, and he did it in such a humble and graceful way. He loved what he did. He loved music. He loved education. He loved the Blue Band, and he loved Penn State. He's just our foundation. When he comes by, we see him fairly often, but he's because it's Dr. Bundy, he keeps his distance. But we're always like, just come in, sir, whenever you want to come, just, please. We just love to see him. And he's always gracious, and he's always complimentary. And I can't say enough about how he has shaped not only this organization, but all of us the staff that is here, the 3 directors, all of us were Dr. Bundy's students. All of us were Dr. Bundy's mentees. We're all here because of him and what he has done over the years. So I can't say enough about him.
Yeah, so true. In my, when I would occasionally speak with him, he was just so, I mean, in your words, he was so humble, just an immense talent, and just kind of like was one of the guys, or just part of the group. And yeah, like when we see him playing in the Alumni Blue Band, I was speaking with one of my colleagues, Matt Eichelberger. I said, like, Matt, like you would never know, like that is Dr. Bundy. Like he just kind of blends in and yeah, just so right. I felt like I needed to ask you about Dr. Bundy here. So we're wrapping up here with Dr. Micki Ferguson. We are talking about the Blue Band. I also just wanted to mention, so I used to live along Park Avenue, like right across from the Nittany Lion Inn, and I could always hear the Blue Band playing from the IM fields, like in fall. It was like August, and that was just the quintessential. Okay, fall is upon us, and so yeah, I mean, I'm a Penn State grad. I mean, I could just talk about the Blue Band. I mean, yeah, Micki, we're going to have you back on because I feel like 40 minutes isn't enough. But I want to be respectful of you. And so let me kind of wrap up the conversation with this. And this is a broad question, and you can kind of take it, whatever direction you would like. Being a Penn State or being a Penn State grad, being back at your alma mater, having, all the Penn State experiences at University Park and beyond, how has being a Penn Stater molded you into the person and the professional that you are today?
Oh, I mean, I go back to, starting in middle school, going to camp, going to the music camp in high school. My parents, who neither of them were Penn Staters, when I would come back, even at an early age, they always would joke, "Oh, she drank the water again," because everything I wanted to do, everything about Penn State, it just spoke to me. And then when I came as an undergraduate, being obviously, we're talking about blue band and athletic bands here. Blue band was such a major force in my life. I am part of something that is way bigger than myself. I am part of this legacy in the Blue Band. But then when you think about Blue Band in the whole scheme of Penn State, yes, it's visible. People recognize it, but it's also another small entity and something that is so much bigger. And I think everywhere I go, I wear a lot of Penn State gear just because it's kind of my wardrobe. But I think especially when you leave the, Center County and you go somewhere and you have something Penn State on, I just think it's such a core part of my identity, that, you see a Penn Stater, you go to, you go somewhere and we are you. And it's just like, oh, that's really cool. I remember being in Sorrento, Italy, and I saw someone with a Penn State hat on, and I we ared them, and they were just like, what? And it was just one of those memorable experiences. We're all part of this very unique group. And I can't imagine. I mean, obviously I wouldn't be here if I wasn't a Penn Stater, but in my life, we all make different choices at different times that affect and waterfall all throughout our entire lives. And just Penn State it's just been part of my waterfall since I've been 11, 12 years old. So, it's impacted everything. It's impacted my career. It's impacted my choices. It's impacted my friends, my family, and all in good ways. Like, it's just, I drank the blue water, and it's in my blood.
One of the goals of this podcast, Micki, is to bring on people who help transform game day at Beaver Stadium into the best atmosphere in college football. The Blue Band is at the top of that list. You are one of the folks who make it happen. On behalf of our producer, Vincent Langaro, thank you so much, one, for joining us today. Thank you so much for everything you do for Penn State and the Blue Band. Can't thank you enough, and appreciate everything that you do. And we'll see you on a Saturday here in the fall before too much longer, I'm sure.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Thank you, Vince. And thank you to the Alumni Association, who is just one of our biggest supporters. And we're grateful for everything. But thanks for the opportunity to talk with you.
Dr. Micki Ferguson, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.